Welcome back, my friends, peers, and colleagues, to another podcast episode of Everything from A to Z. And today I am really proud to be speaking with Amelia Perrin, who is the Investigations Program Manager for the American Wild Horse Conservation, an organization that I personally have been posting a lot about lately now that I have time to dive into my advocacy for animals. So, Amelia, welcome and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and to educating me and my listeners to some really important information that you'll be sharing with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this issue. It's something I am passionate about since I was 5 years old. And so I'm very excited to bring that passion to your advocacy.
Ah, thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited. I feel like a child.
I
A
know, I
little
feel that.
bit.
I know.
um, Yeah, also because an emotional thing we'll get into today, and but I think first, a lot of my listeners have dealt with a lot of trauma.
Mm.
I am also a life coach. I have a company called Aloha Life Coaching, and in recent months, I've had a lot of women reach out in regards to their trauma and traumas in their life and how to stand up for themselves and create boundaries and things like that. And I know that in addition to the incredible things that you do for a living, I know that you have dealt with a bit of trauma in your life. And I think our listeners would be really appreciative for you sharing. And I think that they'll see that in regards to what you've been through and your advocacy for the American wild horse really coincides and probably helps a little bit in the healing process. So, would you
Oh,
mind
yeah.
sharing a little bit about what you went through?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was 18, I moved to California for college. I got into UC Davis and I was so proud of myself and so excited. And then unfortunately, 1 month later, I was a passenger in a car accident. I didn't get any bumps or bruises besides a little cut on my lip and some bruising on my face, but I looked totally fine. I was discharged from the hospital, told me I just had my bell rung, go to sleep, and I would be totally okay.
Mhm.
Nobody knew, and what I wish the hospital had warned me about was that there was a traumatic brain injury lurking under my facade of being okay. And so the next morning, I woke up in just excruciating pain. I could barely see. I was just very out of it. I could barely walk. I was very wobbly. And when I went to go visit my friend who was driving in the hospital, um, my dog's barking,
Oh,
sorry.
no, nope, nope. They're
Um,
part of this.
Rescues, yeah, we
Yep.
love rescues. When I went to go visit my friend in the hospital, her doctor actually was like, "You probably have a concussion." And so, you hear concussion and you're like, "Oh, I'll be fine in a couple days. It's totally fine." I rode horses, I fell off horses and got concussions and bounced back, no problem at all. Um, but that wasn't the case here. And what I didn't know is that was going to start me on a 5 year journey of I lost myself. I had to mourn I said I mourned the death of myself while I was still alive. So I was in constant pain. I had constant headaches. I was in the ER every every month for migraines. I was bounced from doctor to doctor to doctor. I couldn't read. I'm a writer. I love to write. I couldn't write. I couldn't think of words. And one of the most heartbreaking things is I couldn't ride anymore. I couldn't go to the barn where, my horse has always been my sanctuary. And my horse has always been when I have a bad day in high school, I go sit in the stall and cry and he comes sit
Yep.
with me, and I know all horse girls know that and they all know
Yep.
that feeling. And I couldn't have that anymore. And that was really incredibly hard for me. And for a really long time, I felt like I was drowning. And I think anyone that has traumatic events and trauma in their life can resonate with that. Like it's this constant pressure of I'm never getting out of this. I'm stuck. I'm stuck in pain. I'm stuck as a shell of who I was. I had to move back in with my parents. I had to drop out of school. Um, and I ended up doing, being bounced back between physical therapy, cognitive therapy, vestibular therapy. I tried the Botox, the medications, all of that. And unfortunately, none of it helped me because none of it was addressing the
Mm.
key issue, which was my brain was broken, and nobody knows what to do with that. So I luckily was able to find a place in Utah that I went into inpatient treatment there for a week, and I did a very intense week of all of those therapies, but put together. And so it targeted, uh, I did about 8 hours of therapy every single day and just targeting restarting my brain. And that started me on my actual healing journey, and that gave me hope. Then after that, I did about a year more of vision therapy and finally started slowly getting my life back. But all through that time, or about half of that time, I started working for AWHC. And um, that just having something that I was so passionate about and going to work every day, and I was so happy. I started as administrative assistant, so I was like opening the mail, but still it made me so happy because I was doing something that I cared about, and I was giving back to the horses that had given me so much throughout my whole life and given me so much resilience and taught me how to bounce back and taught me how to stand up for myself. And because you kind of have to be a badass to be a horse girl.
Mm,
And
yes, that is true.
yeah, and they really taught me that. And so I'm really grateful for AWHC to have let me restart my journey with a passion. And I'm really excited to be where I am today.
Oh, that's amazing. And you've been with AWHC how long now?
5 years now,
5 years.
2018. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's to work through what you went through and to really shift your mindset because on top of the work that you have to do on a physical level, because there does come a point when you need physical help, but
Mhm.
also the way you were able to transition your mindset
Yes.
and just being ready and ready for the fight.
Yes. Yeah.
Once you discovered it, and that's the hardest process is getting through and having people closest to you support you,
Mhm.
whether it's one person or just your immediate family. I
Mm.
always share with my viewers, find those people who will support you and lift you up
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that you can get to where you are 5 years later.
Mhm.
Do you still suffer from any type of migraines and things like that?
Yeah, so I still do get occasional migraines. It's a lot better than what it was. I am very grateful that I am back to writing. I am back to reading. I retrained my brain to do all of that. But I am very I almost live in like a constant fear of hitting my head again. And
Mhm.
so I can't ride still, which is very sad. And there's a lot of things that I'm like, oh, I definitely shouldn't do that because I have to protect my brain. And I'm a lot more conscious now of just brain health in general, getting my body moving, eating to protect my brain and all of that kind of stuff.
That's so smart though, because it just goes to show, not only yourself, but people that you share your story with that it's still possible.
Oh,
It's still
yeah.
possible to do things. You have to protect yourself in a certain way now,
Hmm.
but look at what you're doing and look at the animals especially that you're helping and the people that you're helping around you.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that I'm very grateful that I came out of my journey. I'm very grateful that I had the support system to push me and support me. And I remember like my mom would sleep in my room when my head was really bad and I would be really upset, and so I'm just so grateful for that kind of support that I have. And to be able to come out here, to be able to go back to school. I'm in Oregon now getting my degree in journalism. I'm working for my dream job. And so I'm very, very grateful to have been able to come out of that and be where I am today.
That's incredible. Well, thank you so much for sharing
Mm.
this personal journey of yours, and I know it will continue, but I know you'll just constantly be, being an inspiration for people. And again, I hope that this won't be our only time together, and
Hope not.
people
Yeah.
will get to see where you journey and what you're doing and how you're making a difference. And I think that again is the most important thing. That's what gives us that drive and that inspiration,
Awesome.
and especially your age to fight for the things that you want in your life, which I
Yeah,
think is really important, and to share with your generation.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, okay, let's dive into um, American Wild Horse Campaign. So I started following you because y'all popped up on my feed and Instagram because of all the animal stuff. I used to volunteer for a lot of different organizations, and so this, of course, just struck me one because um, our American wild horses represent so much of America.
Mhm.
And I think, the fact that the BLM is removing them is really um, quite a difficult situation. So can you tell us a little bit about American Wild Horse Campaign and what you guys do just to get that started?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've changed our name recently to American Wild Horse Conservation
Okay,
to, yeah, reflect, an evolution in our organization, um,
nice.
to focus on conserving these wild animals in their habitats where they thrive and where they're supposed to be. So, we take a multi-prong approach to tackling this issue through conservation efforts. So we have a land trust where we're buying key habitat to protect
Mm,
key areas. We're wild, like in Fish Springs in Nevada. We bought some land to protect key water sources, and so that allows those horses to stay wild. We implement the world's largest fertility control program for wild horses, and this is people hear fertility control program and they have a lot of questions. So, this program is humane. It keeps these wild horses right in Reno, wild, and it uses something called PZP, which is it's a non-sterilant, so it's reversible, it's humane, it has no behavioral effects, and what it does is just it helps horses not have babies, so we can stabilize populations where it's needed and keep these wild horses in the wild without helicopter roundups. We do this program in, again, Reno, Nevada. And since we've done it for the last 4 years, there's not been one roundup there for those horses.
mm,
They are state managed, so it's a little different than um, the federal herds, but it's also puts them at more danger because they don't have federal protections from slaughter. They could be rounded up and sent to slaughter. So since we started that program, there's been no roundups. And so that's how we advocate for keeping wild horses wild, and how we're actually keeping wild horses wild. Um, and then our other branches is we work in the legislative, or we work in Congress to advocate for reform measures top down. So we have fantastic champions in Congress right now, like Tina Titus from Nevada, Steve Cohen from Tennessee, and they both are championing. Um, they're both championing reform bills, including Dina Titus, introduced a bill to ban helicopter roundups in their entirety. So we're helping lobby and advocate for those reforms. And then we also are building a firewall of legal protections for wild horses through our litigation program. We're currently involved in two major precedent-setting cases, and we are proactively looking at any legal options we can take to protect wild horses. So that's kind of a very top level brief about what AWHC does.
great. And I mean, it's like I said, this is a good start to just
Yeah.
as we're, educating again myself and these are my new listeners or your new
Yeah.
listeners, which would
Yeah.
I hope, jump on board. But and then the Bureau of Land Management. Always careful about the BLM, but
Yeah.
it is the Bureau of Land
Yes.
Management.
You can't change the acronym.
You can't. It is who they is. It is who they is. It is who they are. And they're what's interesting is they're meant to protect these animals.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
as I've been reading and researching and getting on some Zooms
Mhm.
for other organizations as well, that I know y'all band together and work together, to rescue and save these beautiful creatures. Um, but their job is to protect the land. But
Mhm.
really, if it's their job to protect the land, then why are they so adamant about removing the
Yeah.
animals that walk on the land?
Yeah. That's a great question. And we have to take it all the way back to the 1950s to even begin to understand. So in the 1950s, there's this woman named Velma Johnson. A lot of Wild Horse people know her as Wild Horse Annie.
Yes.
She saw one day a truck of bloodied Mustangs being shipped to a slaughter plant in Reno. And that just ignited a passion in her. And she dedicated the rest of her life to protecting and preserving wild horses. At the time, wild horse populations were near extinction levels because of something called mustanging. And so that's when ranchers would come in, and it was brutal. If you ever see the Marilyn Monroe, oh my
Mm.
gosh, I can't remember the name, but that movie where she's with the Mustangs and all of that, that's exemplifies the practices that were happening. They would run them off of cliffs, chase them with helicopters, tie them down with tires, shoot them from the helicopters. And so when Wild Horse Annie saw this, she knew she had to do something to change. And I think her advocacy is a testimony to what one woman can do. And
Mm-hmm.
she decided that this was enough is enough. And she went up against the cattle ranchers, against everyone that was just one of the wild horses gone. And she got real change. And so in the 1950s, she passed this bill called the Wild Horse Annie Act, which actually banned the use of motorized vehicles to round up wild horses. Um, Her advocacy didn't stop there. She then continued to the congressional level. That bill didn't go far enough because it didn't actually protect the horses. It just banned the use of motorized vehicles.
Mm.
So she continued to advocate for them. And then in 1971, Congress, thanks to her advocacy efforts and the advocacy efforts of children everywhere who were writing into their congressional members saying, please protect wild horses. And because who doesn't love wild horses, and what child doesn't love wild horses? So she sparked this national movement that was just incredible, and got the 1971 Wild Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act passed. And this act actually awarded federal protections to wild horses that's kind of akin to that of the bald eagle. They're the only other species that's specifically protected by federal law. And this law protected them from getting from capture, branding, harassment, and death. And so then the logical next question is, well, what is the BLM doing now? And
Right.
why is this still continuing? And unfortunately, the law has been significantly weakened due to special interest lobbying, specifically livestock lobbying, and the Cattlemen's Association. So over the course of the last 50 years, those protections, while they're still a federally protected species, it's significantly weakened. And the Bureau of Land Management honestly never wanted to manage wild horses in the first place. They were just the agency that was tasked with their management. And so they're not as proactive about protecting them as we would hope.
Can we find another, just as you're saying that, another organization? Great. So if you don't want to do it, then
Yeah.
why don't we do it?
Right, right. And so we come forward to the agency all the time, and we're like, hey, we'll step forward, we'll collaborate with you. And we actually do collaborate with the BLM where we're able to. So in Utah, we are working with the state BLM office there to do some really cool things that are going to be coming up soon.
Great.
And so where we're able to, we collaborate, but unfortunately, each BLM office operates as its own entity. And so it's really luck of the draw who's running
Yeah.
it. And so luckily, Utah is fantastic, and we are very, very grateful, and we love working with them. And we hope that success of our Utah partnership will kind of bleed into other offices.
Mhm.
So far, that hasn't been the case, but we are happy to step forward and collaborate and, work to manage these horses in the wild where they belong when we're able to.
Well, and speaking of different, heads of departments of different BLMs, now that I understand that, so I didn't know that. The White Mountain herds. I
Yeah,
mean, that is located in, is that Wyoming?
Wyoming, yes. Yeah.
Yes. So that's interesting to follow, and what their plan is to do roundups again in July of this year. Is it July
Yep.
through something?
Yep. Yeah.
Um, and it's the cattle ranchers that are paid.
Mhm.
And, is what I'm watching is they don't really have a heart. I've seen cowboys, and when I was a kid, I saw, and now look, I rode horses. I love barrel racing, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But but the difference is the way we treat our horses, the way we spoil our horses. And I know there's still advocates out there that say don't put a bit in a horse's mouth, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I
Yeah.
do get it.
Yeah.
But there are literally some horses who just absolutely love what they do as a sport.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You
My
know,
horse loves it. Yeah.
loves it. They love
Yeah.
you. They love when they
Yeah.
get on you,
Yeah.
when you get on them, sorry.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they love the passion of the relationship.
Yep.
It is very much like Avatar, the movie, when you connect, right?
Yes. Yes, it is.
So I do understand how people feel, and especially vegans and things like
Yeah.
that. So I want to respect that part of the conversation. However, if you really have that relationship with horses, you understand. But I remember when I was a kid watching a cowboy. I had my mare boarded at by my parents' house, and I watched him. I had to be 11 or 12 when my mom dropped me off at the barn. He was kicking this mare in the stomach with his pointy cowboy boots because she wasn't doing what he wanted. And I thought, that's it. I
Yeah.
called my mom, who is Spanish Russian, God help us all, who read this man the riot act and was like, I'll take, and we had different rules and laws. Like this guy got in trouble in this small town in this area that
That's amazing.
but
Yeah.
now I wonder why. And again, I don't know if the law is different in Wyoming, but these animal cruelty
Yeah.
acts, you're chasing down these horses, breaking their legs, killing them, murdering them. The babies are dying in their facilities. Where are the animal advocates for this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Besides your
So
organization.
agree. Well, yeah, that's where we come in. But that's a great question. And about the cruelty acts, it's actually really interesting because the majority of those cruelty acts are state statutes. So they are state enforced laws, but this is all happening on federal land. And this is all happening through federal contractors. And the holding facilities are, yeah, under those federal contracts. And so they actually don't, the state cruelty laws don't actually apply there. And there's not overarching federal, there's not a lot of great animal cruelty laws on the federal level. And so, I mean, that's something that me personally, as an animal advocate, would love to see more of, and would love to see, more advocacy on getting federal laws passed. But unfortunately, that's kind of where it's at right now. And this is legal through the law. The roundups are legal through the law. The helicopters are legal. That doesn't mean they have to do them in the way that they're doing them.
Right.
Um, Again, it's this interesting, like, it's almost a culture war. It's the Wild West, the old Wild West, where the cowboys rule everything, and it's brutality and taking without asking, and just bullies, versus what we do, which is bringing science and innovation and passion and compassion for these animals, and treating them like the integral parts of the Western landscape that they actually are. And so we've kind of not only have a clash of policy, but we have a clash of culture. And you're right, like the majority of the people, as our investigations work have shown, majority of the people benefiting from this system are livestock ranchers, or
Mhm.
are cattlemen who are rounding up the horses. They're getting those big $100,000 contracts to round up
And
all.
that's federal, right? So those
Mhm.
are federal contracts that
These
they're
are all
getting.
federal contracts, yep. And they're also the livestock permittees, or the livestock ranchers, cattlemen are also getting the holding contracts. So from the whole circle of it, they're getting paid to round them up, and they're getting paid to hold them. And guess who's paying for it?
We
Me and
are.
you and everyone listening.
Yeah.
We're footing the bill, and it's absolutely outrageous.
When the roundups happen, is there a way to, because I think about this constantly about a lot of things, is gathering a peaceful protest with media. I know that the roundups are for months. So I would imagine if they know we're coming, they're not going to do it, right? They're not going to put the
Yeah,
helicopters out. They're not going to do the things. But where would there be a place? I'd be the first person on board. You'd be like, Ari, what do we
yeah,
do? Like, I'll get any media I can get, and
yeah,
go to Capitol Hill. Do we do the things? Like, how do we
yeah,
push,
yeah.
before the roundups happen, stop the helicopter shooting? I was just reading in Australia that what they're going to do with those horses, they're literally going to go back to what you said and just shoot them from a plane or an air or a helicopter and let them suffer and die.
Yeah.
I mean, where and what world where we're so worried about climate and the environment that we've lost total, and I do think this is a federal thing. I think we're so caught up on one thing that we're forgetting about humans and animals in its entirety. And I think that's
Yes.
what's upsetting, right?
Yes.
One
Yes.
agenda and that's it.
Yes. It's
Mm.
horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
sorry, I'll let you answer what I was saying about the
The
peaceful
peaceful
protesting and
the
doing more.
yeah. The power lies with the people. It's You see that with what happened with Wild Horse Annie, getting hundreds of thousands of school children writing into Congress and saying, "We want these horses protected." And so, yeah, absolutely the power lies with the people, and it would be amazing to get a large peaceful protest, on Capitol Hill or a lobby day, and I always talk about the importance of channeling your anger at what you're seeing into action. Because we can sit on Facebook, we can sit on Instagram, Twitter, and just yell about what's happening. But the most important thing we can do with that is channel that into action. And
Absolutely.
so there's so much more you can do. Than commenting and tweeting. But, taking action through to your congressional representatives, call them up on the phone and say, "Hey, I care about wild horses. I'm a taxpayer and I'm footing the bill for this and I want it to be changed." And you can call them or get your friends together and go to Capitol Hill and reach out to AWHC. We would love to give you talking points and help you set up those meetings and help you get in there and help you actually make actual change. And or we would love to have a peaceful protest on Capitol Hill. The issue is, it's very important to get a large amount of people there to get
Yeah.
any action to happen. And so the more people that we can get on board, absolutely, we would love to do that. A lot of people ask, well, why can't we go protest the helicopter roundups while they're happening? And what you said is probably true. They probably wouldn't do it if they knew it was coming. But also, these roundups happen in extremely remote areas, and so getting people out there is nearly impossible. We have a roundup observation program, and even getting one person out there to take pictures is difficult.
Really tough.
We call
Yeah.
it, yeah, human chess. And
Yeah.
so it's tough to get out there. So channeling that anger that you have into action through contacting your representatives, educating your friends, go to farmers markets and have a table and we'll give you materials and you can talk to your local community about this. And the more what we know is the more people that know about this issue, the more people take action about this issue, more people that are enraged about this issue. One thing we're finding is that people don't know about wild horses. Like, I went to go get my hair done the other day, and I talked for an hour with the lady about wild horses because she had no idea that she could even find them in Oregon, that they even existed, and she
And
was
the
just
little burros too. We can't forget about the
little
burros.
burros. We cannot forget about the burros. Oh, they are so cute with their
They're
ears.
so cute.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I just did a Zoom with the Chasing Horses Wild Advocacy. And you know, uh, I think they had a limit to write to the BLM about the White Mountain horse herds by last Friday. So it was
Mhm.
really some talking points about how to speak to your to legislation and people in your community through facts
Yes.
and not through emotion. So
Yes.
get emotional first, get it out,
Yes.
scream in a pillow, do all the things that you have to do. Because I used to say that to my daughter
Yes.
when she was little, you know, before she would try to have a conversation with me. I'm like, go scream in your pillow if you're upset, get really, really mad, get it out of your system, and then let's have a conversation. And,
Yeah.
maybe mommy will say yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the temper tantrum
exactly.
isn't going to work. No one wants to hear someone when
Yeah.
they're in a temper tantrum, right?
Yes.
But it is the same thing with animal advocacy, no matter what you're doing, whether it's the Yulon dogs
Mhm.
that are being tortured for food in China, or if it doesn't matter where it is, you do have to take the emotion out and the tears,
Yeah.
and that's very important too. But you're
Yeah.
right. I feel like for me, this is just the beginning of how I want to get back into my riding, my horse lifestyle, not necessarily riding
Yeah.
horses. So this is, for me personally, a beautiful way to go, all right, I want to learn more so that I can get my community involved and get people that I know in the industry to take what
Yeah,
I do seriously to say, look, I've got media outlets. Who's be interested to having more of this conversation?
yeah.
Will take us up because I've done my homework. And
Mhm.
now I'm working with people who clearly know what they're doing. How do I help bring this? So that's the same question people listening can say, all right, what can I do in my community? All right, I need to listen a little more. I need to take, volunteering. It's like, how much volunteering time are you willing to take out
Yeah,
per week or per
yeah,
month? Is
yeah.
it 5 hours? Is it
Yeah.
4? Is it just an
Anything, right?
hour a week?
Yeah.
Anything to learn, to educate, and then act. And that part I feel unfortunate about is, the horses in this at this point are still suffering, some of them,
Mhm.
you know, but for the ones you can save, and that's what I always try to go to, the ones that are now at the roundup facilities, how do we make sure that, and that's a whole other conversation, maybe a different podcast, but the roundups, how do you save those horses from
Yeah,
going to, because now there's the other bill, and I'm not so sharp on this one where there's incentive to buy wild
yes.
horses,
So
and yet
that's the
people turn them around and sell them
yep,
for meat,
yep. That's
which
the
all sits
adoption
in a
incentive program.
barn. That
Mhm.
organization, she's down trying to rescue all these bronc horses and
Yeah.
wild horses that they're sending down there. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah, well, it's at every end, exactly. You have
yeah,
the risk of dying during roundups, dying during holding, or dying thanks to the adoption incentive program. And it's actually the adoption incentive program, which is that program that pays $1,000 per horse or burro that's adopted. That's the bread and butter of my work. That's where I
ah,
day in and day out, tracking horses in kill pens, filing Freedom of Information Act requests to get more information about each horse that I identify in a kill pen, and then connecting that to adopters that are committing these crimes and then are going back days later after they dump their horses in kill pens to get their second, third, or even fourth round. And so it's a money-making scheme. It's a get rich quick scheme. They get $1,000. They get a title to their horse 1 year later. That means they can do whatever they want with those horses 1 year later, and they send them to slaughter auctions. So I have an incredible team of volunteers who help me scour kill pens, which operate on Facebook, interestingly. So we have like,
thanks,
right,
Zuckerberg.
right. It's very weird. Like
Yeah,
sometimes on Facebook, you wouldn't think about it, but
yeah,
I'm grateful that they do because that way I can track the horses. But what we've uncovered is absolutely the tip of the iceberg. Like for example, I went to the Eugene livestock auction here in Oregon, and I didn't expect to see any wild horses or burros. I was just going to like take a video and show the reality what these horses, any horse that ends up in one of these slaughter auctions deals with. And I was walking around with my camera and it was loud and people were screaming, the horses were screaming. There's a baby separated from her mom. And it was just, it was horrible. And I was walking around with my camera and I came across two tiny burros in the corner. And I was like, those look like BLM burros. And they had the brands on them. And so I was like, what do I do now? Like, I can't leave them. I don't have a trailer. I have a Prius. I can't take them with me. And so
aw,
I called Claire from Skydog Sanctuary. I called our executive director, Suzanne, and I was like, on the phone, my phone's at 20%. I'm like, we have to save these burros. What are we gonna do? We have to save them. And I stayed till 10 p.m. bidding on the burros when they came through the loose horse sale. I bought both burros and we found a home for them and they're very happy now. We call them Poppy and Cosmo. So
aw.
very cute. So, but that's an example of, you know, we don't know how widespread this issue is. If I wasn't there, I wouldn't have been able to find them if I wasn't boots on the ground and stuff. What we can do on Facebook is only so limited, and what we found is just really the tip of the iceberg. And this program is so much more corrupt than what we know, and that's what my team is dedicated to uncovering.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, anyone we can help and save and bring awareness to, I think it's leaving that good footprint on this earth to
Yeah,
do better, to be
yeah,
better. And And I think it's interesting to shift the mindset of the people who are actually doing it. And um I, that that's takes years of work
Mhm.
anyway,
Yeah,
and that's almost, it's not impossible. I do like to believe that there could be a shift, but
absolutely.
it's going to take somebody with a lot of money and somebody who really cares to put it
Yes.
forward. I mean, it really
Yeah,
will. To want to, instead of lobbying, how about we put our lobbying in a way that, you can still make money,
yeah,
you can still get your, whatever, wherever you want to sit or wherever you feel you need to sit with a
yeah,
better solution. And I think, rounding some of what we're talking about today is really creating solutions, and how can people come up with solutions and reach out to you, and again, reaching out to their communities on how we can volunteer our time to be better
yeah,
for our horses, but be better for our wildlife. I mean, there's so many things going on. I'm in Lake Tahoe, so I'm
yeah,
borderline state line, the
yeah,
Washoe Lake, where I see some wild horses. And it
yeah.
drives me crazy because I think one of the horses, and it's been this way for a while, every time I drive down to Reno, I see one wild horse by him or herself all the time, and drives me crazy because I think when the water level rose and then it dropped and then it rose again, I think this horse got isolated, and they're herd
Yeah,
animals. And I just want to
yeah.
go get it.
I know.
I just want to be like, I just want to take you and I want to move you back to your herd.
Go
And
back to your
but
family. Yeah,
that horse is still alone. And
yeah,
it's been a year or something
yeah.
since they've been out there. It drives me insane. But that's my personal thing. But they're there.
They're
And
there.
so, and then of course the cattle is
Yes,
right up
that's the cattle, yeah,
to the line.
yeah.
Which again, I get, there's all the things. There's a lot of cattle that are mistreated because of the
Mhm.
the way. I mean, there's
Yeah,
just, it's a cyclical thing. There's
yeah.
so much going on, and I guess we got to focus on one thing at a time to make a
Hard
difference,
to. Yeah, yeah.
and I think moving forward, I do want to ask, that we've covered a lot. I do
Mhm.
want to come back to this if you're willing, to see
Yeah,
where, you are with the Facebook things, and how
yeah.
I'll make sure people can reach out to you as well. But and I don't know how much about her, but that little pride and joy Thora
Right, yeah. Yeah.
is should be up for auction soon, right? And I feel like they took her, this is my own thoughts and whatever from watching, is they took her because they know they'll make a lot of money on her.
Yeah. They will. There will be a bidding war over Thora. Luckily, to our knowledge, she is still alive. Her family is still wild, which is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's really important to know that, or to take a moment to think that Thora is one of 1,000 foals that got captured this year,
Yeah.
and um, she's gonna go for a lot of money, and she's gonna go to a good home. But if you're out there and you're called and you're like, I want to adopt Thora, think about one of the other thousands that needs a
Babies. Yeah.
home. Um, one of the
Well,
brown ones. People don't want they don't want the
I know.
plain bays.
I like all the broken ones. All my
Yeah.
like I got a dog back there.
Yeah.
She can't even open her mouth to eat.
Oh
And when I
no.
rescued her, she was from Mexico. And when I rescued her, she had MMM. It's like a
Oh,
neurological something.
wow.
But I found a vet who was able to, because she can't get
Oh.
I can't say that word. Um, but he was able to remove 23 teeth, and now she can eat kibble. And I make her like
Oh,
little special things, for
oh,
vitamins and
that's
things like that.
sweet.
And she had maybe 7 weeks when I got her. I've had her for 4 years.
Oh,
So it
oh, I
just goes
love
to show
that.
you, like,
Yeah.
it's an
Yeah.
investment
It
too,
is.
right? You have
Mhm.
to spend a lot, but you're right. I think with these babies, and that another point to make is the BLM doesn't matter. Thora, I think, was born in September or November, and is considered a yearling by the time they took her.
Yeah, she's
It's
only
just
4 or 5 months
4 or
old.
5 months old,
Yeah.
and I would imagine that would be the same if a baby was born in December, and they'll
Yeah.
steal that baby from. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are a lot to look at. There's also, which is interesting, there's two facilities that I know of in Nevada
Mhm.
that are uh the prisoner
Mhm. The Northern
rehabilitation
Nevada Correctional,
correctional
yeah,
facility.
facility,
And then
yeah.
there's another one that I'll have to get the information in
Palomino Valley, I think is what it's called.
another one. So if you are in this area, anybody, and you're looking to
Yeah,
um rescue, I will hopefully be buying some land in Nevada myself.
fantastic.
So it'll take me, probably another year to kind of set it up
Yeah.
right and things like that with a
Yeah.
girlfriend of mine who's also, of course, fanatic, um, and try to help,
Yeah.
rescue and things like that. So I'll be looking into that as well by talking to you more and how I
Yes.
can. But I know that we could probably talk about this forever. And thank you for answering so many
Yeah.
wonderful questions. And where can people reach out to you for
Yeah.
more information?
Yeah, so they can go to our website, AmericanWildHorse.org, join our mailing list. You will get timely actions you can take. You will get the latest news about wild horses. We try to share happy stories too, so you'll get
Yes.
cute stories from the range about babies and mamas and happy, warm stories like that. And then anyone can reach me if you would like to contact me about volunteering or if I can do anything to help in your advocacy and anyone's advocacy out there. It's just Amelia, Amelia at AmericanWildHorse.org. Super easy, and I'm so happy to help anyone in this journey. Wild horses and being able to work in this world has brought so much light back to me. It's given me a career I never thought I could have. It's given me the drive to go back to school and get a degree to make sure that I can help more, not only wild horses, but humans and animals and anything I can do by storytelling. I think that's so important. And so anything that I can do to help anyone on their advocacy journey, that is, I would love to help anyone with that. And bring some of that light that I got from this organization and this journey to you. So,
Ah, I know. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful we met. This will not be the
yeah.
end. I will
No,
definitely
absolutely
be,
not.
signing up and,
Yes.
again, if there's anything I can do to help or my listeners, if
Thank
they reach
you.
out, as well. And then, Amelia is amazing. If you want more questions or want to help in my community, I'm available at info@alohalifecoaching.com. And also on Instagram, Amelia, it's Free Wild Horses, right?
Yes.
Do
Yes. Free
you
wild
guys have
horses.
a TikTok or anything or
We
just
do. It is also free wild horses. And we're starting to build up that TikTok. So definitely if you have that, follow that.
as
Yeah.
well? Okay. And then again, sign up everybody, sign up online so you can find out what's going on and all these wonderful
Yeah.
stories. It's really amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Oh,
coming on. And
thank you for
I'm
having
super excited to be part of this journey with you. So
Yes.
until next time, until our next
Yes.
interview, we'll see what's going on with the babies and share some beautiful stories as well with them and some
Mhm.
pictures and things like that I'll add on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love that. Thank you so much for having me today. This has been amazing.
You bet, Amelia. And all right, everybody, until next time, thank you so much for listening to everything from A to Z. Until next time.